At the very beginning, we are introduced to an elderly man named Hori, who lives alone in his house. His wife passed away several decades ago, and his beloved dog recently ran away. Since then, Hori has lost his purpose in life because he has no one to talk to. Most of his time he spends looking through photos of his wife and indulging in memories of good times which they spent together. But one morning, he wakes up and decides to do something drastic. Hori buys a dating magazine and meets a beautiful young woman named Leslie. He wants to date her and make her his wife in the end, but since Hori's old and wrinkled, seducing her will be an almost impossible task. So, he decides to do the unimaginable. To turn into a young and handsome man, as a rule, people undergo medical procedures or train to look younger. However, Hori is very impatient and he does not have the means to visit a doctor, so he begins the transformation with the help of various items that he finds at home. At first, he takes a knife and cuts the old cornea off his feet. He feels no pain during this whole procedure, but it tickles him instead. Then he pours molten wax in both his ears and pulls it out. As soon as it hardens, he starts to bleed out of his ears. After that, Hori paints his teeth with correction fluid and spreads powder all over his face. He also rips the eyeballs out of the creepy-looking doll and puts them in his eye socket. As for the wrinkly face, Hori gets a brilliant idea. He stretches his skin and ties it behind his neck with a few English pins. In the evening, he makes a few more changes with scissors, aerosol paint, hairdryer, medical pills, and even hammers to look younger. After putting on a wig, Hori electrifies himself with a high-voltage current to regain his long-lost energy. Well, let's see. Wow. Yeah, let's go, buddy. He finally finishes his transformation. Amazing. We see a completely different man. He has an amazing look and a killer smile that's sure to seduce the ladies. In the next scene, Hori goes to meet the love of his life while carrying a small gift. He's sure he can win Leslie's heart. As expected, he does. Later, we'll see the two of them having a romantic time. They eat ice cream from the same bowl, run on the beach, go to a party, and watch the sunset together. The only problem is that Leslie's tiny dog Bacon doesn't seem to like Hori. He keeps barking at the man to show that the man smells like a deception. Yet Hori keeps on going and takes another step forward by giving Leslie Riley's vintage car. That same evening, they take a ride, and it seems that Hori and Leslie have fallen into a fairy tale. Birds are singing and the smell of flowers enchants everything around them. However, the situation takes a bad turn for Hori when the car hits a few holes, leaving his already fragile body in a bad state. As he tries to cope with the situation, she suddenly sneezes her face. It is pressed against the windshield. In a shocking turn of events, it turns out that she is also an elderly woman who has undergone an extreme transformation to appear young. Hori is stunned by this sight, and in the next moment, his body also releases, revealing its original appearance. The two just stare at each other in shock, but then get excited and start kissing. The movie ends with Bacon the dog also showing his real face, which turns out to be old and ugly.